All right, let's start with the Knicks. They entered these playoffs a legit contender to reach the finals out of the East, but right now, they're just worried about escaping the first round. This series with Atlanta, it's even at 2 with Game 5 at the Garden Tuesday night. Brian Geltzeiler from SiriusXM NBA Radio joining us here. Brian, so great to have you in studio. And I warned everybody, and I think a lot of people warned everybody coming into these playoffs 3-4 weeks ago. Atlanta's a team you don't want to face.
That's correct. Listen, first of all, I picked the Knicks in 7.
Okay.
So I understood how difficult this series might be coming in. Here's something else that I think kind of was missed by a lot of Knicks fans and even some media. The Hawks picked the Knicks.
Exactly.
They had a choice the last day of the season. Do we want to play our guys, have a chance to win ourselves into the 5 seed, or take the risk of not playing our guys, resting guys, and being a 6 seed? They got the 6 seed because they would rather play the Knicks than the Cavaliers. They like the matchup better. And let's face it, through 3 games, that looked like a smart decision. And then Game 4 hit. And the Knicks adjusted a whole lot. The coaching staff did a tremendous job. Execution was excellent. And you saw what the Knicks can do when they are doing things the right way.
Game 4 was a must-win, obviously. Game 4 was a window into everything the Knicks need in order to be successful, starting with Karl Anthony Towns. 4th career playoff triple-double in Knicks history. And Cat was as good as I think I have ever seen him in this game.
John, I have been screaming from the rooftops, run your offense through Karl Anthony Towns.
He's the mismatch with the Hawks.
That is the mismatch here, but for the most part with everybody, it's the right way to go. They made that decision and they committed to it. And what I loved is the weakness that Towns has sometimes when you run things through the elbow is he gets pushed off the elbow a little bit. What the Knicks did is they took that vacated space on his side and brought Anunoby there and brought Brunson there. So they had a couple post-ups to Anunoby from the mid-post he scored on. They started to overplay that pass. Anunoby went back door. And don't get me wrong, Karl Towns isn't Nikola Jokic passing the basketball. It's not fancy. It's not, you're not gasping at it. But by the same token, it's effective and it's simple and it's smart. And you saw what happens when you run your offense through Towns, and it was really, really effective.
OG said afterwards, OG said with Karl Anthony Towns, getting those passes from him, he can fit it through a tight window. And he did. And that led to OG having a masterful performance.
He has been fantastic in these playoffs.
I mean, he's kind of the X factor, really, for the Knicks.
Well, he's their number 3 option behind Towns and Brunson, but at times he can be their number 1 option. Right. Because to me, he's their best shooter. He's their best athlete. And when you need a bucket, he is willing. He's got the guts, the guile. He is willing to go through and try to be the guy that gets that bucket. And I think when it comes to OG, it's the same like this with most of the guys on the Knicks. It's an old Shaqism, John. You want the dog to guard the house, you got to feed him. So OJ sees that ball. OG sees that ball regularly, and he's guarding real well. It's the same thing with Karl Towns. It's the same thing with Bridges. When the ball's moving, everybody's more involved defensively. Hence, they held the Hawks, a very good offensive team, to 96 points.
Well, and OG, obviously, he can be a good offensive player, potentially a great offensive player sometimes in games, but defense is really his calling card. He and Josh Hart are really pushing that pedal on the defensive end. And it seemed in Game 4 that it spread to everyone else.
It did. Listen, Hart was a key component in that game because I came out of Game 3 and looked at it and said the Knicks actually have a little bit of a defensive problem. The best guy suited to guard both Jalen Johnson and Jonathan Kuminga was OG. So what are you going to do on one of them? Well, Josh Hart stepped up not only in how he handled C.J. McCollum when he guarded him. He did a very nice job on Johnson when he was on him, a very nice job on Kuminga when he was on him. And listen, let's face it, Kuminga helped a little bit. Jonathan Kuminga is so good going to the basket, so good in transition. When he's going to take 10 shots in a game and 6 of them are threes, he's doing you a massive, massive favor.
So we were talking to Mike Brown after they lose Game 3, and just the idea of what is going on with Jalen Brunson right now, especially on the defensive end. And I thought Josh Hart had some telling comments too after practice the other day about, it's a tough matchup, C.J. McCollum, and Jalen's getting worn down on the defensive end because so much is expected of him on the offensive end. Josh said, we got to help him out a little bit, but he said Jalen's got to buy in on the defensive end.
Yeah, and I think some of that is the fact that Jalen was really settling to be switched a little bit easy.
Okay.
The Hawks, especially in Game 2 and Game 3, they pick their matchup. They brought Brunson to the ball every time. And I don't know if it's as much to blame Jalen Brunson as much as the switching scheme. The Knicks did a lot less switching in Game 4, had guys fighting through screens, which didn't allow the Hawks to pick the matchup. Let's face it, Jalen Brunson's an excellent offensive player. He's the weak link defensively on the floor. The Hawks want him on the ball. They want him on C.J. McCollum whenever they can get that. Sure. They got that a lot less in Game 4. It was very effective for the Knicks defensively. And I got to shout out the coaching staff and Mike Brown because, listen, fans were killing them, wanted his head. We lose a series, fire him.
First 3 games, he got out-coached.
Same thing they did with Tom Thibodeau, who ended up going to a conference final last year. But the bottom line is they made some drastic changes offensively, a lot less Brunson isolation, running things through Towns. Defensively, they've been switching all year. They stopped switching as much, and a credit to the coaching staff and a credit to the players for being able to execute and shift on the fly in that way. With all that said, I think the players wanted to play this way more.
Sure.
And certainly there was a lot of buy-in up and down the roster.
There's a lot of pride on that team. They know what's at stake. They know that, you can't get comfortable winning, a game in the playoffs to start because it could just as easily switch, and that's what happened here. But, I'm worried about Mikal Bridges and what we're seeing from him. And so I think the pressure right now on Mike Brown is how do you get something out of Mikal Bridges? How do you find a way to use him in these playoffs? Because he's been a ghost.
Keep starting him. Keep putting him in matchups where you think he can excel. Putting him in position to succeed, and if he's not succeeding, take him off the floor like he did in Game 3.
Yeah.
Listen, Mikal Bridges is not happy in New York. He doesn't like his role. He doesn't like the fact he doesn't see the ball. He was a lead option in Brooklyn. He was a fantastic role player in Phoenix, a lead option in Brooklyn. He comes to New York, and I think he expected to be more of a lead option. And let's face it, he's the number 4 guy here. I don't think he sees himself as a number 4. I don't think he wants to be a number 4. I think you combine that with the fact that at times he's a physically weak player and gets thrown around and is asked to be put in some harder, tougher physical matchups. All those things combined have Bridges kind of dejected right now and not happy with himself and not happy with the situation. Yeah. But Mike Brown not pulling him from the starting lineup is the right thing. Bridges is one of these guys. He's 2 or 3 made jump shots away from being completely engaged and energized again. And you notice Jalen Brunson in the first quarter of the game, he handed to Bridges for a dunk and an uncontested breakaway just to get him going a little bit. There's something for players seeing the ball go through the basket that will re-energize you a little bit. The stakes are high right now for Mikal Bridges. A 4-year contract extension at $36 million a year kicks in on July 1st. So these two sides likely are stuck with each other and have to figure it out.
And if he doesn't, then you've got to rely on your bench. And that's where they have been getting, especially in Game 4. I mean, Deuce McBride throughout this series has had moments where he comes in an instant 3 to keep them in the game or to, get them going. Jose Alvarado was tremendous in Game 4.
Yes, and listen, there is a weakness on this bench.
Yeah.
The guys you just named, McBride, Alvarado, I'm going to inject another guy in there, and Jordan Clarkson, they're all small. They're little guys. Yeah. They don't have another big wing to bring off that bench. The other problem that happens with McBride sometimes is his skill set offensively is very repetitive with Jalen Brunson. So we just had a conversation about Karl Towns seeing the ball. He sees it a little less with Deuce and Brunson out there together. So Mike Brown has to pick his spots. All of those are reasons why he can't abandon Bridges. With that said, if you get positive contributions from those guys, it's fantastic. Listen, Clarkson's one of these guys. If he's hot, keep him on the floor because he will fill the bucket, man. He can shoot it. If he's not hot, you have enough other options that you don't have to play him. What I did like about Alvarado, early on in that game, he got under the Hawks' skin. He had everybody a little aggravated.
That's why they brought him.
Shoving a little bit. That's his game.
Yeah.
That's what he does. So he's a little bit of an agitator that way, and I think it actually fueled the Knicks emotionally. And I think after the losses by 1 point in regulation in Game 2 and Game 3, the Knicks needed some of that Alvarez emotional fuel.
All right, so it's a 3-game series now. Going into Game 5 at the Garden. You know it's going to be loud. You know it's going to be high intensity, high pressure, high stakes environment. Where do you see this series going in these last 3 games? If it goes 7 the way you said it would.
I think it's going to go 7.
I feel like
I think the Knicks will win it at home. I think it's going to be interesting to see how the Hawks adjust in Game 6. Listen, up to Game 3, Quinn Snyder had outcoached Mike Brown.
For sure.
Okay, Mike Brown had the advantage in Game 4. Let's see what Snyder decides to bring in Game 5. But to your point, John, there's no doubt that the energy of the Garden crowd is going to carry a lot for the Knicks. Knicks fans are ready to shovel dirt on him after Game 3. 48 good minutes, everybody's excited again.
But the thing thing is, CJ McCollum seems to thrive on that just as much. So that's what I love about this matchup. It's intense, it's anxiety-inducing, but it's playoff basketball. Game 5, Tuesday at the Garden. Can't wait. Brian Geltzeiler, thanks so much for being here.
My pleasure, John. Always is, pal. Thank you
All
so
right,
much.
stay where you're at. We are coming back to talk NFL draft. Yeah, it was a big weekend. The Jets and the Giants. Yeah, the Jets drawing rave reviews for what they did. We're going to break it down coming up. But first, it's time for the Spectrum Speedy Connection of the Week. Thursday night, Fernando Mendoza became the 4th quarterback to complete the trifecta of winning the Heisman, the national title, and then being drafted number 1 overall, to the surprise of no one. The Speedy Connection is presented by Spectrum. It's internet, mobile, and streaming TV, all from one place. It's only everything.